Hello, I'm Mrs. Williams from the Delaware County Historical Society. A few years ago, I bought a house that was over 80 years old. When moving in, I found a few artifacts in a drawer that were original to the house. Wait, let me stop here and first explain what an artifact is and why they're important. Then you get a chance to try to figure out what my artifacts are and what they were used for. An artifact is anything made by a human. Artifacts usually tell us something about their culture or what their life was like. It doesn't have to be old. Artifacts that we find help us learn about the lives of people. Prehistoric people had no written language, so the only way we can learn about what their lives were like is to study the things that they made and used. Archaeologists are scientists who study prehistoric people and their culture by studying their artifacts and anything else they can find. Archaeologists learn the most from artifacts that are everyday objects. It gives them a good idea of what their regular lives were like. Ancient garbage is called midden. By studying midden, we learn about their everyday lives. We can figure out what they ate and wore. We can learn how long they lived and how they died. We can learn what they did during the day, what tools they used, and how they survived. Did they hunt? Were they farmers? Did they trade with other people? Not only do archaeologists have to figure out what artifacts were used for, but they have to figure out how they were made. Sometimes it helps to do it like you think the ancient people did to see if your hypothesis makes sense. It is important to base your findings on facts, not guesses. When archaeologists are on a dig, they keep very specific notes about where things were found. They create an array, which is a set of rows and columns, and carefully dig in each square and record their findings. It helps the scientists know how things were possibly arranged while the people were alive. In this case, they can tell that the site had been a village and where houses, the butchering area, and the trash pile in the village were. This is how that village may have looked according to the findings from the dig. This picture shows an actual archaeological dig. The scientists very carefully search in well-planned out areas. They make sure that they don't damage anything that they find. Then they take pictures and write detailed notes on what they find and where. Artifacts are not only found in archaeological digs. They can be found in homes, especially in old homes. Antique dealers buy and sell things that are from long ago. Garage sales are another good place. Some people want to get rid of old things that they have been storing for a while. They may have belonged to their ancestors, but they don't have space to store them anymore. Flea markets are another good place to look. What if, sometime way in the future, someone uncovers a building from our time period? What would they find? Would it be obvious to them what the items they find were used for? In the book Motel of the Mysteries by David Macaulay, archaeologists from the year 3850, that's over 1,300 years in the future, uncover a building with many artifacts in it. They think they have figured out what some of those items are and what they were used for. It is important to make sure that scientists have facts to support their ideas. The next few slides will show you what they found and what they decided the items were. How did they do? Does it matter if they're right or wrong? Here's one of the artifacts they found, and this is what they wrote describing what they believe it is. The sacred pendant. This piece of jewelry was found lodged in the silver-rimmed hole in the floor of the sarcophagus, where it had apparently been dropped. The beautiful pendant was carved out of rubber, now petrified, and has been inscribed with the markings 1.5. It is connected most delicately by a silver ring to a beautifully formed silver chain. We don't know the symbolic reason for the shape of the pendant. Are they right? What is it really? Go ahead, you can say it out loud. Yep, It's a rubber stopper for the tub drain. Here's another artifact they found and what they decided it was. The sacred point and the sacred parchment. Very little is known about the sacred points except that they were very rare and were only ever found on the ends of sacred parchment scrolls. It is believed that they simply pointed the way to eternal life. Now, parchment is a writing material made specifically from untanned skins of animals. It was used before paper was ever even invented. Are they right? What is this really? Go ahead, say it out loud. Yeah, it's just toilet paper. Here's another artifact that they found. This is what they think this is. The sacred urn. This relic is most holy and was found in the inner chamber. It was carved from a single piece of porcelain and then highly polished. The urn was the focal point of the burial ceremony. The important celebrant would kneel before the urn and chant into it while the water from the sacred spring flowed in to mix with sheets of sacred parchment. Are they right? What is this really? Yeah, it's just a toilet. Here's another artifact they found, and this is what they said they figured it was. The sacred collar. This was worn by the ranking celebrant in the final burial ceremony. This artifact is dated 1979, making it one of the earliest collars ever found. The two bumps were just decorative. The two spiral connectors shown were used to secure the collar to the urn after the ceremony. Are they right? What is it really? Yeah, it's just the toilet seat. And this is what they wrote about this artifact, the sacred asperillum. Once this has been dipped into the water of this sacred urn, it is shaken over the deceased and over the entire chamber. This represented the cleansing of the eternal home. Gross. Are they right? What is this really? It's a toilet brush. Now, they put together all of those ideas, and this is what they came up with. This is how the archaeologists interpreted the use of the artifacts that they found. Are they right? Is it important to base your findings on facts and not just make guesses? If they were trying to learn about what our lives were like, would they have been right? No, they would have been very, very wrong. They would have had no idea that it's just a bathroom. So it is very important to base what you decide different artifacts are for and how they were used from facts and not just guesses. Now it's your turn to try. I'll show you a few things that I found in my house that are no longer being used. You can pause this video to take your time to figure it out and not just take a guess. Then restart the video to see if you were right. There will be 3 different artifacts for you to figure out. What is it? These are knobs that turn on the hot and cold water in your sink. My grandmother's looked like this when I was growing up. Whoever changed the sink and faucet in my house and left the old ones behind, changed them for knobs that are pretty similar. That one wasn't too difficult. What are these? Did you figure it out? What facts did you use to know for sure? What did you decide these were? These had me a bit stumped at first. I had to do a bit of research on my computer to figure this one out. These are called curtain tiebacks. The tiebacks in this picture have a different design, but the picture shows how they were used. There was one on each side of the window. During the day, you would tuck your drapes behind them to let the sunlight in your house. Then, at night, you would untuck the drapes and pull them closed over your windows. Here is the last artifact. What are you going to do to help you solve this one? Good luck. What is it? Since you were not here when I found these, and you are unable to hold them like an archaeologist would, I'm going to give you some hints. Remember when I explained earlier that where you find something can be helpful in understanding it? That's the case with this artifact. We didn't find these laying in a drawer. We found them inside a wall. They are made of cast iron, and each one weighs about 6 pounds. What did you discover they were? These are window weights. These window weights hide inside the wall behind the window frame. This is where we found the window weights. My husband is refinishing the wood around our windows. When he took the wood off, he found the old window weights still hanging in there from the old windows. Our new windows are made differently, so window weights are no longer used. The weights were attached by a rope and pulley in between this frame and the rest of the wall. So there's a space in here that he now has filled in with insulation, so it's not so cold in this spot anymore. But the weights fit right inside there. And when the window was pulled up, this would go down, and it would keep the window in place. If the rope that was attached right here, if that rope got old and broke, the window wouldn't be able to stay up by itself anymore. It would just come crashing down because there would be no weight at all to hold it up. So there was a pulley up here. If you can see right in here, there was a hole in there, and there's a pulley, so the rope would go over there and then attach to the windows. The top window would have a weight, and the bottom window would have a weight. So those are gone now, and he's refinishing the wood, and he'll get that put back up so it'll look nice again. So what do we know now? We know that artifacts are things that are made by people. This playhouse for our grandchildren were made by humans. The grass, the clover, the trees, the bushes, rocks, those are not artifacts because they're part of nature. But when humans change the rocks and build a wall with them, the wall is an artifact. The fence is made from the wood of trees. The trees are not artifacts, but the fence is. The garage is an artifact. The van, my house, the table and chairs on the porch are all artifacts. Grass, the air, water, it's raining now, the rain, not artifacts. That's part of nature. I wonder what kind of ancient artifacts may be hiding below ground in my own backyard. We know that archaeologists are scientists who study prehistoric people and their culture by studying artifacts. We also know that the answer to what an artifact is and what it was used for has to be based on evidence and fact, and not just guesses. When the COVID-19 pandemic is over and the Delaware County Historical Society can safely reopen our museums, I hope you and your family will come visit us. We have our Nash House Museum and Kreider Research Library at 157 East William Street in Delaware, Ohio. We also have our Meeker Homestead Museum and the Barn at Stratford at 2690 Stratford Road in Delaware, Ohio. We hope to see you soon.